सुभाष गर्ग साहब इस विषय पे, क्रिप्टो करेंसी जो बिल है उसके पीछे जो मेन सोर्स है वो सुभाष गर्ग साहब है। सो फाइनेंस सेक्रेटरी साहब रहे हैं, कई जगहों पे काम किया है। मैं सर से एक एक करके आप लोगों के लिए कुछ चीजें पूछूंगा, जिससे कि सर एक सरकार का व्यू पॉइंट और एक ब्यूरोक्रेट का व्यू पॉइंट एंड उसके अलावा एक एकेडमिशियन व्यू पॉइंट भी दे सकें, जिससे कि आप बच्चों को और जो व्यूअर्स उनको समझ में आए। तो सर, आई वेलकम यू ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ माय व्यूअर्स एंड माई सेल्फ। सर, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल आई वुड लाइक,
thank you very much.
जी थैंक यू सर। सर, आई वुड लाइक टू फर्स्ट नो what is cryptocurrency in the eyes of law? What's government thing? Because the people is confused about digital currency, crypto, and blah blah, so many.
So as of now, there is no law in India. So there is nothing you can say that what is cryptocurrency in the eyes of the law. But this is a commercial digital currency asset phenomenon which has sort of spurted all over the world. The global valuation of cryptocurrencies is reported to be about $3 trillion, which is almost equal to the economy or the GDP of India. And therefore, this is a big phenomenon, right? So I'll try to explain to you what cryptocurrency is from this perspective, not from the law, because law is still not there. So the cryptocurrencies basically is two words as you hear them. One is the crypto and the other one is the currencies. Crypto is a digital mode of programming and storing data using cryptography as the principal medium of programming. You or your students do a lot of digital transactions today. You make a lot of payments, go to your banks. Someone might be doing equity investments, e-commerce, all of us. That also is a way of digital programming, in the world. These two are very contrasting technologies. They are very different technologies. One organizes, which is let us call them centralized technologies, or the traditional digital technologies, which create databases controlled by some central authorities using the normal digital programming. And as your students would have experienced, whenever you want to access that data or you want to do any transaction, you use passwords and access to get the access into that database. So this is the centralized database. The other one, the new one which has come up, crypto organizes the data into what is known as blockchains and helped with the cryptographic programming in a very decentralized mode. There is no central authority. For example, banks today hold the data for you, all your data for banking transactions or banking assets. E-commerce company like Flipkart, Amazon hold all your data and the data relating to what they sell into their databases through which you do the transactions. These are centralized systems. In the decentralized system, the data is stored by the participating what is known as nodes. So imagine if the banking data, which is today held by the bank, is held by all the people who participate in that database. So if all of them have the copy or not the copy, but the entire database with itself, then this will become decentralized. Today, your land records, for example, or your house records are, let us say, with the land management authority or the municipal corporation. But if you were to have all the data with everyone, right? Me, you also, in a way, if we have all the data of all the houses of Delhi, then since everyone has it and there is no central controller, this becomes a decentralized, this is a different way of organizing things. In the central system, you trust the central authority to give you access and to hold your data without corruption, without sort of mismanagement or something. But if we all of us have all the data with everyone and no one in a position to alter it without the common consensus, then in the decentralized mode. So the cryptocurrency, the crypto part helps using the cryptocurrencies organize the data into that decentralized mode, and the currency part then represents the value or the asset of that business or that service or that database which has been created. So cryptocurrency is an entirely different way of organizing digital assets, basically in decentralized mode using cryptographic as the programming language and the database organized into blockchains in distributed mode. I hope this makes some sense to you.
No, sir, you have explained really in a layman's language very, very easily, and I hope the audience and the persons can learn it and from your mouth, it is much authentic now. Sir, I studied that in 1830 in US, the similar position was there regarding the currency which we see today. What is the level is today in case of crypto? The same is there with the normal currency which we used to say. So is it not that over a period of time, automatically the bad currencies will be out from the system and the new will come into the system automatically, and that things will sorted out? So why to have a law for that? Because this is a decentralized, and anyone who is investing it, and if he feels he is investing it and he does not know this and investing, that means he is gambling. So he should be responsible for his own risk. Then why should government interfere? Our government should bring a law. Please, sir.
Correct. So let me begin with where you started, that in earlier times in US, elsewhere, the currency and that period was the period when there was a transformation taking place from the metallic currencies to paper currencies. So as you know, gold, silver was the principal mode or principal currencies to do transactions for many centuries. That is how everybody trusted the value in gold. So when you sell something, you would like to be paid in gold, and when you buy something, you buy it with the gold, so metal or silver. That was the currency of the world, but that was a very inconvenient currency, right? Number one, metal has a lot of weight. So if you want to buy a lot of things, you would have to take a lot of currency with you. Secondly, it has to be carried over long distances if you sort of doing international trade, or you're even trading with, let us say, a city 30 or 40 or 50 kilometers away or 1,000 kilometers away. And that would add to a lot of risk. That was the second big disadvantage of that currency. Third, it was very difficult to do or to break the transaction into smaller value. So if you have a silver, you would need to buy or trade in equal quantity with which you can part one coin of silver. If you were doing it gold, it was still bigger. The human beings tried to solve that problem by bringing the lower value or lower precious metals, the bronze and the other kind of things, right? But still the problem of taking so much of load to do transactions, running the risk, etc., was very much there. And therefore, it was considered as an inconvenient currency. So what some people thought, some reputed individuals, as well as the ones which later turned into bankers kind of thing, that why not I give you a promissory note on paper, which is more convenient, that this is equal to one coin of silver or one coin of gold or otherwise. And you can take back your gold or gold coin anytime you like to create trust. So the bankers or these reputed individuals did sort of create the paper currency. It was not the governments who created it first. It was the traders, the
Yes, sir.
rich.
It was the commercial, later turned out to be the commercial bank who had started the private currencies,
Right.
and then it was
And
later
the
decided
government
to be
is
the
not
central bank. Central bank will have the currency,
much
not
later.
others.
So central banks came much later. So
Yeah,
in
much later.
short, so the innovation of paper currency was a societal, a private innovation, which was adopted by the governments and the central banks later, right? The moment this was adopted by the central banks and the governments as paper currency, then you try to solve another problem of the society, because the risk with the earlier system of the reputed individuals, rich men, etc., coming up was that somebody else could also print that kind of paper note. But that was cleared by the fact that people will not buy or take or convert their gold from somebody who is not reputed. This required everyone to be sort of vetted by all others. And the government solved that problem by saying that no. Now, since paper currency we are creating, and this is the backing of the sovereign, no one else need to do it, right? That is how, once the governments took it over and the central banks took it over, the private banknotes or private paper currency was illegalized. It was made non-legal tender. In India also, when 1860 or 1861, when the first time the paper currency was introduced by the government, everybody else was stopped from doing it. And that became the only exclusive legal tender, only exclusively usable paper currency. Now, what is happening today is something like what happened in this phase 200 years or 300 years earlier. Now, people have created their own cryptocurrency, right? Like Bitcoin today was designed as a currency. That here is a currency, and you can use it for transactions and all. But Bitcoin was designed more as a currency to be used for international transactions. It was to substitute dollars, so to say, right? And since there is no international currency, dollar works as the major international currency, the Bitcoin was started to sort of substitute physical paper currency of dollar with digital currency. And today, as earlier, if you make international payments, it is far difficult for you to get the dollars or to carry, and those risks which were there earlier with the metallic currency is precisely with the paper currency as well, right? And if you do it in digital, you can do it also very fast and very quickly. In an instant, you can make payment globally. Today, what we see domestically in the form of UPI, IMPS, etc., where you can make instant payment by using your money in the bank account, which is also digital money, so to say. For the international payments, these cryptocurrencies were offering that kind of solution. Over last few years, this has got further refined. So you now have stable coins, right? So, for example, Tether, which is the USDT, and the coin USDC and a couple of others, Solana and all, are now have come up as the stable coin. Their value is pegged to the dollar. One Tether equals $1. And now which, since you have digital dollar literally created by the private people or very easily by thinkers or private rich guys were doing 150 years back or 200 years back to the metallic currency. And therefore, to respond to your question, that what is the problem with doing it? I don't see, as far as international payments are concerned, any problem in using US Tether or some of these stable coins for making it, and people will use it increasingly for making international payments. Now, again, it can happen the way it happened earlier, that if suppose the central banks were to issue the digital currency or the cryptocurrency, so to say, and let us say the US dollar itself becomes digital dollar or e-dollar, right? Then it will be able to do exactly the same functions in exactly the same efficient way, or maybe more efficient and reliable way than what US Tether is doing today. And thereafter, if the international community or the Americans decide to get such kind of electronic currency or digital currency or cryptocurrencies, the need for the private currencies or private stable coins would go away. So what happened to the banknotes issued by the private rich persons and the banks would most likely happen to the stable coins going forward. Government domestically has a problem because in domestic currencies, almost rupee, for example, if you take it, it has become digital, almost digital, right? Today, most payments, more than 90% of the payments take place by way of digital payments from your accounts. So you don't need a cryptocurrency or a digital currency for the domestic payments. There are two models, retail and wholesale. They are very costly models. So I don't see that the currency, domestic currency, would be required to be used in the crypto manner. Reserve Bank today may decide and should decide at some point of time to make the paper currency digital, and at the time can also ban the private cryptocurrencies like the central banks and the governments did it earlier. So that's the journey I see. To summarize, domestic currency, domestic payments are mostly digital payments now, but still there is a lot of prevalence of domestic currency in paper form that can be replaced by the digital currency. That digital currency need not necessarily be in the crypto form. There are other models in which it can come. But international currencies, either the governments together create one international currency, for example, converting the SDRs, or the US dollar or something becomes international digital currency, and then the private cryptocurrencies and the stable coins will vanish to my judgment, and the official digital currency would be the ruling currency in the world.
Okay, sir. So basically you want to say that the government wants to do away with all the private cryptocurrencies and coins, and basically they wants to discuss only the currencies which are issued by as a legal tender by the central banks, or that can be one central bank or it can be the several central banks. That's the motto. But I was going through one of your statements given earlier that said the future of currency is in digital currencies, and digital currencies do not respect national border. The world needs a global digital currency. This is what you highlighted just few seconds back.
Exactly. So this is what I explained.
Yeah. So what the main points you see that this cryptocurrency bill should have in order to fulfill in the line which you said that global digital currency? And there are many people, sorry, but one second. There are many people who are investing through DGX coins, DCX coins, etc. A lot of platforms are there. And what is it for these investors who does not know about crypto and they start doing the crypto? And around 6 lakh crore has already been invested. That is the news, sir. Please, your view.
So that is the related issues. The moment the cryptography and the blockchain technology can be used to deliver lots of other services besides creating a currency. So you can organize your music, your land records, your e-commerce, otherwise in the form, your trades in the form of crypto on the crypto platforms. You can also create and run the entire financial system, whether it is payments or credits or otherwise, on the crypto blockchain platform. And in fact, there is now, this is the biggest sort of expanding business on the crypto platforms, what is known as decentralized finance or DeFi, right? So you do the finance business of lending, borrowing, insurance, mutual funds, otherwise on the crypto platforms. So the crypto platforms are creating those kind of businesses and the value. The crypto platforms are also creating lots of assets. You have heard about the non-fungible tokens, NFTs, and others. Almost every asset can be converted into a digital database and secured by the cryptography system. And then that asset would become, let us say, crypto asset, and that system would have a sign. So in short, what I'm saying is that almost any service and assets which can be done digitally or bought and sold, created, manufactured, sold digitally, can be done on the digital platforms. So many of these, what loosely are known as cryptocurrencies, for example, Ethereum. Ethereum is a platform, a crypto platform, on which almost every application which you see today is built and run. So US Tether is also built on and most of the NFTs and other services, digital decentralized platform finance services are all being organized on the Ethereum. There are others also coming up, but Ethereum is a major platform on which lots of digital services and assets are created. Now they are valuable. They have very good sort of services and businesses, and therefore they create value. And therefore that asset is different than the commonly understood that everything on crypto side is currency. It's not currency, right? So those assets are something which need to be recognized. The government need to promote, because if there is a competing technology which is good, and if you don't allow that space to work in India, that Indians would lose out. Likewise, if that is a special class of asset, that asset has to be traded, bought and sold, acquired, and therefore you need to create an ecosystem of exchanges or otherwise, and the accompanying institutional mechanism for facilitating the creation of those good services and businesses and the buying and selling of those assets. And that is where this bill, which is being proposed by the government, is expected to be. It should be a crypto assets regulatory bill rather than cryptocurrencies regulatory bill. The currencies aspect can be dealt differently. RBI can come up, or the government come up with a digital currency law. That law can ban the cryptocurrencies for their use as currencies. But the crypto assets and crypto businesses bill is what is needed for sort of giving or promoting the digital or the cryptography based digital businesses and the assets thereof.
Thank you, sir. That you have classified, basically, you have come out with two terms: cryptocurrency and crypto assets. Government is for crypto assets, and RBI is, our central banks is for the cryptocurrencies. But here the question comes: RBI in a recent news, I think 2-3 days back, a complete RBI board has said that we do not want to regularize any cryptocurrency. So what is your view on that, sir?
So the currency, as I described earlier, has become the exclusive sovereign function or the central bank function. Whenever there is a move to come up with a better currency, it starts in the private sector, but then the government adopts it, and thereafter the need for the private currency of that innovation or new type also goes away. And therefore, as currencies, the crypto, which have created the cryptocurrencies and the digital and the stable coins, are not required to be there. So RBI board, which is basically for currency, RBI is not for assets. So I think we should understand this from the perspective that the RBI wants no use of crypto assets as currencies, right? And that is what they want to be stopped and outlawed. There is one complication which I must mention, which has not been probably figured out very well by the government and the RBI so far. So these crypto assets or crypto businesses create their own currency. So Ethereum, for example, is created, Ether as currency, right? And the way that businesses are organized is that on the internal platforms or on the platform, they use only that currency and nothing else. So if let us say that the Reserve Bank of India comes up with a digital currency, which is as good in terms of technical way as, let us say, cryptocurrency, and you can do the trading and payments in that currency, but still the Ethereum platform will not use the RBI's currency, RBI's digital currency. There is another way to look at it. Ethereum types of platform are the global platforms. They are used in all the countries. They can't sort of allow trading in hundreds of sovereign currencies. How would they wouldn't figure out the relative value, etc., etc., and therefore they create that this is our token, this is our currency. Now outside you figure out the relative value of my currency with your currency. So the question would be that can India, or for that matter most other countries in the world, find a way that internally on the platform, the crypto platform itself, you can use that platform's currency. But for outside, you have to do transactions only in the digital currency of the sovereign. Even the interface, because that pairing will have to be there. So on the pairing, like when you want to buy, let's say, Ether with rupee, there has to be a Ether rupee conversion rate, right? Like today, whenever you want to buy a dollar, so you have a conversion rate for dollar and rupee. When you want to trade or get into the Ethereum platform, you have to figure out a way to sort of find a relative value of Ether in this. So if the RBI, and that is where I would summarize that if RBI can figure out, number one, to allow the use of cryptocurrencies on their own platform, that's number one. Second, finding a way of converting or trading between the cryptocurrency and the domestic currency. And third, for the rest of this thing, other than these two types of trades or payments, everything else to be banned from for the cryptocurrencies, then possibly you would find a solution. Otherwise, the situation of confusion and not really being able to find, the government said we will bring the law in this in this session of the parliament. They also said this about a year back. They have not been able to do it because I don't think they have been able to solve these issues, and we will need to wait for the right law to emerge.
Sir, lastly, as you have very lesser time, you already pointed out. So last question is that what you suggest to the investors who have already put in the money into the Bitcoin, Ether, and Dogecoin, Doge, etc. So what you suggest to them, because they have just investor and many of them are ignorant about these all cryptocurrency and technology also.
See, my honest advice is to stay away.
Okay.
Because we don't know anything about their real value, right? In the market, the demand and supply decides the price, and there is so much of demand for cryptocurrencies, and therefore the prices are just shooting up. But both the buyers and the sellers don't know what is the real value of this, and therefore, as long as the demand sustains, the prices will go up. But the moment it turns, and mind my words, that moment might be actually coming with the United States Federal Bank sort of initiating the taper of the buying program. They used to buy $120 billion worth of bonds every month. That kind of money they were sort of putting into the system. And with so much of money being there, there was so much of demand for all kinds of assets, including the crypto assets. But now with taper coming in, there would be withdrawal of money. When the withdrawal of money is there would be lesser demand, and that might actually upset the demand for the cryptocurrencies as well. So when you don't know what is the real value, and when the demand is ephemeral in the sense that it's being created by extraordinary enthusiasm for something which you don't know, my advice would be to stay away.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. You have explained this crypto and the crypto law in detail, and I hope. And it is such a big topic that which cannot be completed within 30 minutes. But as you do not have time, so we'll sit on some other day. आपके पास जब भी टाइम होगा, लेकिन आपने इतना क्लियर कर दिया कि इन्वेस्टर्स दूर रहें, जिनके पास फालतू पैसा they can put in, otherwise keep yourself away. और सरकार क्रिप्टो और क्रिप्टो एसेट्स में डिफरेंशिएट करने जा रही है. Thank you, sir. So nice of you for explaining to these things to our students and the audience. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Thank you very much.
Namaskar.
Thank you, Dr. Namaskar.